I was sitting in the living room, an old photo album resting on my lap. My wrinkled hands gently traced the yellowed pages, memories of days gone by flooding my mind. Suddenly, my granddaughter Sophia burst into the room, her face beaming with excitement. "Grandma, look what I found in the attic," she exclaimed, holding a box filled with old letters and mementos. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity as she asked, "What are you doing, Grandma? Seems like you're lost in the past." I returned a faint smile, my eyes meeting her bright gaze. "Yes, dear. I was just reminiscing about the times we spent together when I was younger," I replied, my voice tinged with a hint of nostalgia. Sophia settled beside me, her warmth a comfort against the chill of memories. As we flipped through the album together, she suddenly came across a black and white photograph of me in my youth. The smile in that picture seemed to illuminate the moment, a stark contrast to the reflection I then saw in the mirror. "Grandma, you were truly beautiful," Sophia marveled, her voice filled with admiration. I felt a lump form in my throat, my eyes downcast as I struggled to find the words. "Oh, that was a long time ago, sweetie. Things are different now," I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. Sophia's brow furrowed, confusion and concern etched on her young face. "What do you mean, Grandma?" she asked, her voice soft and probing. I let out a deep sigh, the weight of years of insecurity pressing down on me. "Sophia, I'm not beautiful anymore," I confessed, my voice trembling. "I worry that when I attend your graduation, people will stare at me and tease you because of how I look." The words hung heavy in the air, a testament to the scars that time and tragedy had left on my soul. Sophia's hand, so soft and full of life, gently clasped my weathered one. Her touch was like a balm to my aching heart. "Grandma, that doesn't matter," she said firmly, her eyes shining with determination. "I'm going to the graduation with you, and I'm proud to have you there." Her words were like a lifeline, pulling me from the depths of my self-doubt. "Thank you for reminding me of what truly matters," I whispered, tears welling in my eyes. Sophia wrapped her arms around me in a fierce embrace, her love enveloping me like a warm blanket. "I love you, Grandma," she declared, her voice strong and unwavering. "No matter what, we're in this together." In that moment, I felt a strength I hadn't known in years. My granddaughter's love and support had given me the courage to face my fears. I knew then that I would attend Sophia's graduation with pride, my head held high. For I realized that inner beauty and shared love shine far brighter than any physical appearance ever could. As I held Sophia close, my mind drifted back to that fateful day decades ago, when I was in my 40s. It was the day a terrible car accident changed the course of my life forever. The memory of that moment was still etched in my mind, a traumatic imprint that time had failed to erase. It was a gloomy, rain-soaked afternoon, the road slick with water. I remember gripping the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles white as I navigated the treacherous conditions. Then, in a heartbeat, another car appeared out of nowhere. There was no time to react, no chance to avoid the collision. The sound of metal crunching and glass shattering filled the air, a cacophony of destruction that still echoes in my nightmares. The impact shook the car violently, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. In the aftermath, I was rushed to the hospital, my body broken and battered. I hovered between life and death, my fate hanging by a thread. The list of my injuries was long, multiple fractures, severe trauma, but the worst was the damage to my face. The reconstructive surgeries were a grueling cycle of pain and exhaustion. I remember the doctors working tirelessly to restore my appearance and health, but their efforts fell short of success. My face was left irreparably disfigured, the scars and deformities a permanent reminder of the tragedy I had endured. But the battle wasn't just physical, it reached deep into my soul. My once abundant self-esteem crumbled like a sandcastle in the tide. I couldn't even recognize the person staring back at me in the mirror anymore. The emotional wounds cut even deeper than the physical ones. My husband, who had been my rock and my partner through thick and thin, couldn't bear the changes in my appearance. He abandoned me, leaving me alone to grapple with the aftermath of the accident and my emotional scars. His betrayal carved another wound in my heart, deeper than any surgical incision. I began to believe that my appearance was something to be ashamed of, that I was to blame for my husband's departure. Isolation became my new normal as I retreated from social interactions and shut out the outside world. The fear of ridicule and rejection haunted me constantly, like a shadow I couldn't shake. As the years passed, my world shrank to the confines of my home, the only place I felt safe. A profound loneliness settled over me like a heavy blanket. Then, like a ray of sunshine breaking through storm clouds, my granddaughter Sophia was born. As Sophia grew, she showed me a kind of understanding and unconditional love I hadn't experienced in years. Though I still grappled with my insecurities, Sophia's love reminded me that my worth wasn't in my appearance, but in the love we shared. 17 years ago, when Sophia was just a year old, my life took another unexpected turn. My daughter was diagnosed with cancer. My beloved child fought the disease with every ounce of her strength. Despite the doctor's tireless efforts and our fervent prayers, time slipped away far too quickly, and the illness progressed relentlessly. I spent days and nights by my daughter's bedside, holding her hand, speaking softly to her, trying to give her strength even as tears streamed down my face. Sophia's mother fought bravely, but in the end, cancer claimed her precious life. The loss plunged me into a deep well of grief, while little Sophia was left bewildered by her mother's absence. But the challenges I had to endure didn't end with my daughter's death. Sophia's father, upon learning of the pregnancy, had abandoned Sophia's mother, choosing to run from his responsibilities. This betrayal and disappointment left another scar on my heart, but it also ignited a fierce determination to protect and raise my granddaughter. I poured all my love into caring for little Sophia with unwavering devotion. Those first days were incredibly difficult. Sophia's inconsolable cries filled the house with a mixture of longing and hope. I would hold her gently, singing lullabies passed down through generations, trying to soothe her pain and mine. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, a deep and powerful bond formed between Sophia and me. Our mornings became filled with laughter as I prepared breakfast for Sophia, transforming our days into moments of love and joy. We explored every nook and cranny of the house together, playing and creating warm memories that helped heal both our wounded hearts. I found myself playing the roles of both mother and grandmother, pouring all my love into my precious Sophia. Our shared laughter and tears strengthened the bond between Sophia and me. Though sadness and loss still lingered in our hearts, we found a glimmer of hope and love in our relationship. As years passed and Sophia grew, I faced challenges that tested my resolve. Attending school meetings, shopping for school supplies, and facing the outside world became daunting tasks due to my appearance. One afternoon, I received a letter about a parent-teacher conference, and I felt a heavy weight in my stomach. I knew how important it was to be involved in Sophia's education, but the thought of facing other parents' stares and whispers filled me with anxiety. Taking a deep breath, I made the decision to go for my granddaughter's sake. On the night of the meeting, my heart pounded as I walked towards the school. As I entered the classroom, I noticed curious glances from some parents. I felt conversations halt and whispers start around me. I clung to Sophia's arm, watching her walk confidently beside me. These interactions were painful, but they also strengthened my determination to always be there for Sophia. While waiting to speak with the teacher, I overheard a mother whispering, "Did you see? Sophia has quite an unusual grandmother." The laughter that followed increased my discomfort, but I stood my ground, focusing on my granddaughter's well-being. One day, as I was looking over a list of school supplies in a store, I heard a sarcastic voice behind me. "Don't forget to buy a mirror," the voice sneered. The laughter that followed made me feel like I was on display. Still, I pressed on, searching for what Sophia needed. On a sunny afternoon, I took Sophia to the park and watched the children play. A group of teenagers approached, whispering among themselves. One of them said loudly, "Look at that old lady. Have you ever seen anyone so ugly?" Though deeply hurt, I maintained my composure, focusing on the joy of watching Sophia enjoy herself. Another time, as Sophia and I were walking in the neighborhood, some children stopped and stared at me. One of them finally shouted, "Look at that grandma, she looks like a monster." I was wounded by the children's insensitivity and felt a wave of sadness, but my priority was to shield Sophia from any negative influence. These words left their mark on my heart, reminding me of the cruel reality of human superficiality.
As Sophia transitioned from elementary to middle school, she faced new challenges. The teasing and bullying from her classmates intensified as she grew older. Entering her teenage years, Sophia's feelings towards her grandmother began to change. Peer relationships became her top priority, overshadowing everything else. Ignoring her grandmother's unconditional love, Sophia started to resent her presence. She began to believe that her grandmother's appearance was negatively impacting her social life.
After the incidents at school, arguments between Sophia and me became more frequent. I felt the sting of her anger as she blamed me for her isolation, her words cutting deeper than any physical wound. One day, with tears in her eyes, Sophia lashed out, saying that if I didn't look the way I did, she might have real friends. Those words echoed in my mind, a constant reminder of the pain I was causing her, however unintentionally. Our once close relationship began to crumble like a sandcastle against the tide. The intimate conversations and special moments we used to share became a thing of the past. I watched helplessly as Sophia retreated to her room, shutting me out of her life. It felt like losing her all over again, reminiscent of the day I lost my daughter. Whenever I tried to be part of Sophia's life, she pushed back, her resistance as solid as a brick wall. If I suggested accompanying her to school events, her response was laden with contempt. She would tell me not to come, saying I'd only cause her to be mocked again.
Sophia frequently confided in her friends about the uncomfortable situation with her grandmother. With bitterness in her voice, she would complain, "Look at her. Everywhere we go, people stare at her." These conversations reinforced Sophia's belief that Carol was a burden to her social life. As Sophia sought connections with her peers, she distanced herself more and more from her grandmother. She began to exclude Carol from her life, even going so far as to hide her grandmother's existence from her friends.
Despite the resentment and emotional distance Sophia harbored, I never stopped loving her or worrying about her well-being. Every night, I would stand by my bedroom door, watching over my granddaughter from afar. The pain of not being able to ease her suffering was like a constant ache in my chest. I prayed she would someday understand the value of unconditional love and support I'd always tried to provide. That afternoon, as we were having lunch at home, the doorbell suddenly rang. I noticed Sophia's irritation as I went to answer it, and saw a young man standing there, seemingly waiting for something. Sophia frowned, got up from the table, and followed me to the door. "Why did you open the door, Grandma?" "What are you thinking?" she snapped, her voice filled with frustration. I looked at my granddaughter with sad eyes and explained it was a delivery, something I thought might be important. The tension in the room was palpable, and our discussion quickly escalated into an emotional confrontation. Words turned into shouts, bringing the deep wounds in both our hearts to the surface. The young delivery man, clearly uncomfortable, suggested he should leave, saying he didn't mean to cause any trouble. As he walked away from our house, Sophia, driven by anger and frustration, decided to chase after him. She turned back for a moment, and I saw her catch a glimpse of my tear-stained face. For a split second, I thought I saw her hesitate, as if the pain in my expression had reached her. But her anger won out, and she ran off. Hours later, Sophia returned home, her face a mix of worry and regret. She approached me quietly, my eyes still swollen from crying, and said she needed to talk to me. I felt a wave of sadness wash over me, but I was ready to listen to whatever my granddaughter had to say. However, before Sophia could utter a word, an uncontrollable cry escaped my lips. I clutched my chest, struggling to breathe as the color drained from my face.
In an instant, Carol's body collapsed onto the sofa. Sophia, panicked, cried out for help and rushed to the phone to call an ambulance. Carol was rushed to the emergency room, her condition critical and life-threatening. Sophia waited in the waiting room, overwhelmed with guilt and despair. As the doctors fought to save her grandmother, time seemed to stand still. A doctor approached Sophia and informed her that Carol had suffered a heart attack and the situation was critical. Though stabilized, Carol's condition remained precarious. Sophia was overwhelmed by a mix of guilt, fear, and deep regret for her actions. She contemplated how much suffering her grandmother had endured and how she should have acted differently. Watching Carol lying in the hospital bed, Sophia gently held her hand, whispering words of apology in love through her tears. In that moment, Sophia made a vow to herself to change, to cherish her grandmother above all else, and to do everything in her power to make amends. This event became a turning point for Sophia, as she realized the importance of the unconditional love and respect her grandmother had given her over the years. With a heavy heart, Sophia returned to the house filled with memories she had shared with her grandmother. Each step felt weighted with emotion. As she entered, she noticed the absence of Carol's warm presence. The room felt quieter than usual, almost desolate. Sophia headed to her grandmother's room to gather some items to bring to the hospital. Opening a drawer, her eyes fell upon an old diary, its cover worn and yellowed. Curiosity piqued, she picked it up and opened it to find pages filled with her grandmother's careful handwriting. The diary chronicled events from Carol's childhood up to the life-changing accident. Tears welled in Sophia's eyes as she read about the challenges, joys, and sorrows her grandmother had experienced. The pages were filled with stories of friendship, love, dreams, and the inner struggles Carol had quietly endured. Every word seemed to mirror her grandmother's heart, revealing the depth of her pain. As Sophia turned the pages, she felt the strength Carol had shown in moving forward despite adversity. She reached the account of the accident that left her grandmother with physical and emotional scars. Tears streamed down Sophia's face as she imagined the pain and anguish Carol must have felt in that moment. The diary captured Carol's journey of grief, acceptance of her new appearance, and finding the courage to move forward. Sitting on the bed, clutching the diary, Sophia's heart swelled with emotions for her grandmother. She realized how much she had underestimated Carol's inner struggles and how self-absorbed she had been, losing sight of her grandmother's true essence. Filled with remorse and newfound understanding, Sophia stood up from the bed and left the room. She knew what she needed to do. She had to return to the hospital, not just to be there for her grandmother in her time of need, but to apologize, express her love, and show gratitude for Carol's unconditional love and quiet struggle. The following week was a mixture of anxiety and hope for Sophia. She spent every day by her grandmother's bedside, praying for Carol's recovery and the chance to express her regret and love. With graduation approaching, Sophia understood how important this moment was for her grandmother, who had fought so hard for her over the years. One night, in the dim light of the hospital waiting room, Sophia lay on a hard sofa, her heart filled with worry and fervent wishes. She prayed deeply for her grandmother's health, promising to mend their relationship and show Carol how much she meant to her if she recovered. The next morning brought good news. A doctor approached Sophia with a gentle smile, informing her that her grandmother's condition had stabilized somewhat. If this trend continued, she might be able to visit in a few hours. Sophia's heart swelled with hope. Time seemed to crawl, each minute feeling like an eternity. Finally, the long-awaited moment arrived.
I lay in the hospital bed, my eyes barely open, gazing at my granddaughter with a gentle smile. Sophia approached with trembling steps, embracing me softly. As I felt her touch on my scarred skin, tears welled up in my eyes. The moment our eyes met, filled with love and understanding, my heart warmed. "Grandma," Sophia said, her voice quivering. She apologized for avoiding me because of my appearance and her own issues. She expressed deep regret, acknowledging my strength and constant love. Sophia promised she'd never forget what I'd done for her and vowed to show her love and gratitude as much as possible. I smiled tenderly, caressing Sophia's face. With tears in my eyes and a soft, loving voice, I responded. I told my beloved Sophia that I had always loved her and always would, regardless of circumstances. I assured her she didn't need to prove anything, that I just wanted her to be happy. I made her promise to never forget that she was valuable and loved, no matter what. Sophia nodded, her heart visibly lighter than it had been in years. We embraced tightly, our hearts connecting, sealing our promises. In that moment, I felt our past wounds begin to heal, opening a chance for reconciliation and renewed love. As my graduation day approached and I continued to recover, our relationship improved steadily. We faced challenges together and celebrated our successes. Sophia came to understand that my love was an irreplaceable gift, and she was determined to cherish it every day. On graduation day, Sophia brought me along as her family. I felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. The crowds and commotion stirred deep anxiety within me, and I struggled not to feel insulted or disregarded in that environment. During the ceremony, as each student received their diploma, our hearts resonated strongly. When Sophia's turn came, she stood up with palpable emotion and determination, heading towards the stage. Given the opportunity to speak, Sophia stood before the audience. An expectant silence fell over the hall as she took the microphone. Though her voice trembled slightly, her posture remained unwavering. She began by expressing gratitude to everyone present on this special day. Her eyes scanned the audience before settling on me, and I gazed back at her. "Today, I want to honor someone very special to me," Sophia said, her voice now filled with tenderness and gratitude. To my surprise, Sophia invited me to join her on stage. With loving, trembling hands, I stood up and took my place beside her. I watched in amazement as Sophia requested for images to be displayed on the large projector behind us. When my old photographs appeared on the screen, my face lit up with surprise. These were treasured photos I had kept safely locked away for years. Sophia continued, her eyes shining with emotion. She introduced me to the audience, explaining that these were pictures of me at her age. A murmur of interest and smiles spread through the hall as everyone listened to Sophia's words while looking at the photos. With conviction in her voice, Sophia acknowledged that she might resemble me in appearance. But then she said something that touched me deeply, that what truly mattered was what was inside us. She told everyone how I had taught her that real beauty lies in the heart, in our actions, and in how we treat others. I felt overwhelmed with emotion, tears threatening to spill as I listened to my granddaughter's loving and wise words. Sophia concluded her speech with a powerful message. She said that this day was not just about her graduation, but also about honoring me, a wonderful woman who had taught her about true beauty beyond appearances. She spoke of how this beauty was rooted in kindness, compassion, and the love we shared. The audience erupted in applause and cheers as Sophia and I embraced tightly. In that moment, I felt that my love and thoughts had truly reached Sophia. Her words reminded everyone present of the true nature of beauty, touching all of our hearts.
Carol and Sophia's story teaches us that courage and love can overcome the barriers that separate us. We all have the power to heal, to love, and to surpass the expectations placed upon us by the outside world. As you walk your own path, remember to always seek the true beauty that shines from within. Let's strive to live with the same compassion and tolerance shown by the characters in this touching story. Through this beautiful tale, we'd like to express our heartfelt gratitude to all our subscribers and followers. Thank you for being part of this big family we call Love Stories. We wish you days filled with love, peace, and happiness. How did you find this story? Please let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to check out our new stories too, they're sure to surprise you.